sisters. This is Ghana Unplugged back to you again. We are always giving you the best out of the motherland. We always educating ourselves. So today, the topic that we're gonna talk about today is prehistoric Africa. People have always argued that Africa never had a history, and our history has always been slavery, colonization, and all of that, which is entirely not true because Africa has always got a history. So now, prehistoric Africa, somebody will be asking, what does that word means? That statement means basically, pre, as we all know, happens to be an English word which means before. Yeah, and then when we say Africa, so many people have put up, their knowledge, wisdom about Africa, how it used to be called before it was turned to Africa, according to the world-known one, which happens to be a one that was researched on by Dr. Diop. Africa previously was called Akembuland, Akembuland, which means Mother of Earth or Garden of Eden. So now, what is history? We all know that history is a past experiences relating to human race. And so prehistoric Africa, it will be so unwise, excuse my language, for somebody from whichever part of the world, whether Caucasian or whatsoever, to argue that Africa never had a history before the coming of the Europeans or the Asians whatsoever. That's never true. It's never true, and I'll always go against that. Why? Because, like I've said, history is a collection of past experiences. Africa always had life. We've always had our way of life. Africans always lived in kingdoms. We live in kingdoms, and everything was well structured. In the kingdom was the king, was the chief, was his elders, was the fetish priest, and there were a very uniform form of government. The main form of practice was democracy. The king sits in his kingdom, calls his people whenever there was a need to address the people. Africa was unified. We had soldiers that were always making sure that there was always peace in the kingdom. You all know of some of the kingdoms that have existed. This is not new. You need not to be told about. This is something we know already. We know of the Ghana Empire. We know of the Mali Empire. We know of the Songhai Empire. We know of the Axum Empire, the Ethiopian Empire. And so, history, as we all know, is a collection of life experiences, past experiences relating to a group of people. And we can, realize that with blacks, with Africans, we always have a way of life, which is our culture. Our culture has always been our way of life. Our culture has always been our history. By culture, I'm referring to the way we dress, the way we eat, the way we dance, the way we speak, the way we learn. We've always had this. It's part of us as humans. It's part of us as blacks. Like I was saying, in the kingdom was the fetish priest in charge of all religious activities. The king was over there to oversee that everything was well done, governed. We've always had universities, talk of Timbuktu. So if anybody tells you that Africa never had history, it's never true, because as Africans, as blacks, we've always had our culture. We've always had our way of life. We've always had the way we dance, the way we eat, the way we dress. You can see, my batakari. This is an African culture. This was something that we used to do before. We used to wear before the white man came. This was carved by us. And so if somebody tells you that we never had history, we never had our way of life before the coming of the European, that's never true. The only argument is that when these Europeans came down, our culture, our history, the way we dance, the way we eat, the way we build our pyramids, the way we live was so complex. Was so different. They had no knowledge. We were far, far over civilized than them. And so they came, they saw our lives, and they were like, oh, wow, how come a group of people elsewhere could have such a beautiful and such a wonderful life, so complex that it's so difficult to decode? And so, with that mindset, with that knowledge, they just concluded that, wow, because you can't understand these people's way of life, the way they do their things, then ideally they have no history. Why? Because they feel like history should just be something written down. And even if history is something written down, we've always written our history. Like I told you, this thing was carved, it's drawn on houses. I mean, it's written all over. It's always been there. We've always had our way of life, which was written, which was taught in the kingdom, which was taught by the fetish priest, which were taught in the community to other people. And so, in any day, if anybody tells you Africa never had a history, tell the person it's a lie. We've always had a history. Our history is so complex and so complicated for Western critics. And so I urge you to be proud as a black man, to be proud as African. Whatever is happening against us all over the world, stand firm. Never give up. Be proud of your blackness and always know that black race is always on top. We've always had the best and we're gonna bounce back irrespective of whatever economic crisis we're going through currently and whatever situation we are in currently. So this is where we're gonna end today. Prehistoric Africa, be proud as a black person. Always stand for the facts and the truth that we've always had a way of life, we've always had history, we've always had culture, and we're proud of that, and we never giving up on that. We end here, we come next week with something crazy. We're gonna look at all these kingdoms one after the other. We're gonna continuously learn, educate ourselves in order to build our self-confidence as black people. I love you all. Please don't forget to subscribe. Ghana Unplugged, giving you knowledge, wisdom, and all of that. We got your back always. Stay safe, brothers. One love. Cheers.
Thanks for watching. Please subscribe and like this video. We'll see you next time.